Okay, all right, everybody. This is the June 15th, 2023 Crossplane community meeting. Jared won't be able to make it today, so I will be running the meeting. Let me drop the link to the agenda documents to the chat. Feel free to add any other issues that you would like to discuss in the meeting. So let me also share my screen. Okay, uh, let's start with the agenda items. So we have some recent Crossplane releases, and we basically fixed a couple of issues in the last three supported branches of Crossplane, and shipped Crossplane 1.12.2 and a set of patch releases for respective branches, and also the corresponding versions for the upstream Crossplane like Upbound Crossplane or UXP is also shipped by Upbound. So the links for the releases are here. So I don't know if Philip is on the call. Maybe he can give some more updates about the details. I think he's not here. So yeah, otherwise I think we can just check the release notes. So the like notable changes in this patch release is like there is a confusing deprecation message in related to like deprecation of the controller config. So like that message is like improved and clarified to better point the intent and also highlight like what is really being deprecated. There is a fix for composition validation about schema-aware validations, and also there is a security fix which is fixed by bumping a few dependencies to get the fixes from the like dependencies. So this is the like Crossplane release, and we have the next release planned like date is as planned. So we can quickly go and check and the roadmap and go over to the like roadmap items. I don't know if Nick is on the call, if he wants to give some updates on composition functions, like, let me check. I think he is not on the call. So basically, like this is one of the like high priority items that we are working on. And Nick identified a couple of issues that needs to be resolved before promoting composition functions, which is a highly like desired feature. And here you can see like the like open issues, and some of them are not even issues yet. They could just be fixed with some PRs. I guess they are relatively smaller pieces, but these are you can like track the progress of how we are going with promoting composition functions to beta. So this is it. I don't know if Lauro is on the call. Otherwise, I can also uh, talk about like promoting observe-only resources. So recently there was a design document that was merged for ignoring changes on a Crossplane managed resource. And the API we ended up with that design is like extending the management policy that we proposed with observe only design. So this means that like one of the like biggest items that we would like to see before promoting observe only resources to beta is the implementation of the NIV API. We call it as like granular management policies, because like you can give a set of like actions as a management policy to say that like to give rights or permissions for Crossplane to interact with external resources. So like the previously management policy observe only will become as like management policy, and then you just give the observe as the policy, and otherwise like the default behavior, etc., wouldn't change. So the state here is like the design PR is merged, and Laura started the implementation. And I think it's also here. And also like the discussions around end-to-end integration testing, improving the testing, test coverage, etc., is still going on. Like there is that proposal open, and I expect we would be able to see some progress there. And one last thing that I would like to mention is like this like deletion ordering feature, which is also a highly requested feature, is right now under design. We are targeting to release it in the next Crossplane release, but we are aiming to get the design like merged before like in this Crossplane release. So this is also ongoing. Yeah, I think these are the things that I would like to highlight. Are there anything that anybody wants to talk about or give some feedback?
I think I'd maybe just quickly call out that there was some confusion previously around kind of like what appeared in which release and on the roadmap board, and we're switching to a model where we're not showing what we're working on in a specific release, but rather what we intend to ship in that release. And the roadmap links have been updated on the README file, etc., so that when you actually come to the roadmap view, it will show the info panel by default, where we reiterate that what we're listing here is, and it's also not a guarantee, it's a commitment to try and aim to release something in a specific version. But we're trying to make sure that we're clarifying the intent of what appears on this board.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the updates, Can. All right. I think there is nothing that I would like to highlight from the like roadmap items or like individual issues in the release board. So we can continue with the provider releases and investments. So on the outbound side, I think there are a set of providers released, and I think more importantly, we have a bigger announcement for a severe issue that we were having with a high number of CRDs. So, Can, do you also want to like give the update there?
Sure. Yeah. So on Tuesday, we released the official provider families, which basically takes our big monolithic packages that we had for AWS, GCP, and Azure, and it breaks it down into smaller logically grouped providers. And the marketplace also received some updates, and will continue to receive further UX enhancements as we roll out more updates there. But you can now selectively install only the packages you need with the resources. And there's a blog post that's listed later in the agenda item as well, where it talks about what provider families are, and there's some documentation as well that shows you how to migrate if you're running the monolithic package as well. So we hope folks find that this reduces some of the pressure that of the CRD scaling issues they've had, and we're currently focusing specifically on improving performance around our providers, and we continuing on that mission. We already have our next major project that we're focusing on and improving it further.
Cool. I think yeah, we encourage everyone in the community to try them out. Like even they were announced as release candidates for I think more than a month, and we were getting some feedback from the community already. With having them as generally available, I think we will see more usage, and we will hopefully get some more feedback and like improve if there are any gaps that we missed. Cool. I think for the like community topics and questions, so basically there are like the blog post and like around family providers. There are also a couple of more uh, content that's worth checking out. So, for example, I think this is from Steven talking about like how to use Crossplane to like provision and invoke AWS Lambda functions. I think it was a read and talks about like how you can build some useful compositions for that. Another update, I think for those who are following the Crossplane Slack channel are familiar, but it definitely worth mentioning here as well. So as Crossplane maintainers, we have decided to like to improve the feedback cycles on ongoing features and changes. We decided to create special interest group channels for each feature. And also, we are planning to create some regular calls for reviewers and interested parties to give feedback, and we can discuss the details and show the progress, etc. So feel free to like check these channels and like join whichever you are interested in. And we would love to hear your feedback around like the way that we are going in the implementation or design of that specific feature. And also like feel free to join the meetings and also use this as a chance to provide synchronous feedback. And also the last item that we would like to mention is like KubeCon call for proposals is almost closed. So we encourage like everyone to or remind everyone that wants to post a proposal. Like the deadline is I think this Sunday. So feel free to reach out to Jared for feedback on your ideas. This is, I think, put here by Jared, so I'm just reading it. Yeah, I think that's all before we go into individual PRs. So there is only one, which is added by myself. So before diving into the details there, I would like to pause a minute and ask if there are any questions or like topics that people want to bring. Cool. Okay, I think we can continue with this. Basically, I think Dan is not on the call, if I'm not wrong. So, so we are already discussing this with Dan on the PR, trying to get some alignment. So I would like to highlight this PR to get some more eyes on it and give some more details so that you can check it and like provide some feedback. So the overall idea here is like improving the package manager and basically to prevent some common errors that we are seeing, especially around transferring the ownership of resources, like whether it's a custom resource definition or XRD or composition, depending on the type of the package. So I think most of you who like who have been using Crossplane for a while should be familiar with the error that says like this resource is controlled by another revision type of errors. So I have made some investigation and try to come up with a proposal that will improve the situation there. So before diving into much details on what I am proposing, I would like to give a quick highlight or overview on how Crossplane Package Manager and especially the package controller and package revision controller is working. So this is also independent of the proposal. I think it would be a good chance to discuss or learn more about how it's working. So today we have two types of packages, provider packages and composition configuration packages. And both of them are reconciled by the same controller, like package controller, and then the revisions are reconciled by package revision. So what I'm talking about applies for both providers and configuration packages. So I would like to start when you create a package, let's say provider Helm, provider package V1, what happens is the package controller goes and creates a package revision object. And the actual logic of the pulling the package, parsing the package, installing it, etc., is all done after this stage. But what happens is it creates a provider revision with some hash at the end of the name, and then sets the package image. This is a abbreviated version of package name, like V1. And then if in the default mode, it sets it active, unless you set revision activation policy to something else. So what happens is this package is pulled and the resources inside this package is created. In this case, in provider Helm, there is only a single custom resource definition. Actually, configs are there as well, but it doesn't matter to get into that details. And what happens is on this custom resource definitions, we are setting two different owner refs. One is for provider package, the high level package, and the other is for the revision. But the important point is the revision or the active revision takes control of the custom resource definition. So we see that this is controller equals true. So this is the first installation. What happens when you go and update to V2 is the package controller goes and creates another package revision as V2, and it sets it as active, and it deactivates the other one. So this is what happens. And now these two provider revision objects are reconciled independently, and the inactive one goes and sets the controller to false for itself. And this active one goes and edits itself as an owner and sets the controller true. So the famous controller cannot take control of the object because it's controlled by another provider revision issue happens when this provider revision, which is inactive, is not reconciled properly and set this controller true one back to controller false. If there is something goes wrong at this stage, then what happens is this stuck as true, and this package revision fails to set the controller true because Kubernetes does not allow more than one owner as controller. So it rejects, it's controlled by another provider revision. So the question then is, what could go wrong while reconciling an inactive provider revision? So I've investigated the reconciler logic, and this is basically what is happening while reconciling a provider package revision today. So if first check is of course, if it is deleted. If not, then it pulls the package. If not cached, it parses the package content, links the package content, updates some metadata from package contents to the provider revision object. And then the next check is checking XP crossplane constraints, resolving dependencies, and running some pre-established hooks for a provider. This means if it's not active, deleting the deployment and service account and service. And then the like most important step comes in, which is actually establishing, meaning that installing or creating or applying the CRDs with proper owner references. And here we see branches, like if it is active, it is like created and updated as controller set true. And if it is inactive, it is set as controller false. So this is the established step. And after the establishment is done, the next step is like setting object references to status. We see status.objectRefs, and we see all the objects listed for this specific provider revision. And then the last step is running post-established hooks. And right now we only have like creating the provider deployment as post hook and deleting it as a pre-hook. And this is only for providers, not configuration packages. So this is the state we have today. And what could go wrong when an inactive provider revision is being reconciled is actually all of these steps are running. And for example, if an inactive provider revision points to a package which is no longer existing, let's say it's an old package and somehow removed from the registry for some sort of a garbage collection or like cleanup or whatever, and let's say we lose the cache. In this case, pulling that package fails. And this means that we cannot go down the tree for the inactive revision and set controller false. This means that the old provider revision cannot like give the control or stop controlling the object. And then if in this case, in this situation, if the active controller tries to control it, it fails because it's still controlled by old revision. This is one case what could go wrong. And I think there is exactly an issue for this, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is like complaining about we are still fetching like package for old revisions kind of issue. So this is one thing. And also like on the next steps, for example, we had another issue reported by, I think, Christopher, where there was an issue with like crossplane constraint checks, and the old revision fails at this stage, meaning that it cannot come down to this point and leave the control of the resources. And so on, like resolving dependencies, like there could be some issues, etc. So what I'm proposing here is like instead of this flow, I'm proposing to basically branching if the revision is active or not. Like instead of having branches at later stages, I'm proposing to branch as soon as possible. And if the revision is not active, just like collect all the logic for the activation and do it. And then if deleted, just delete. So also it's also an important point to mention, like here we don't have a deactivation logic on the delete path. So if you delete a provider revision, and if it disappears before it is like leaves the control, then you are very likely to hit the issue of the famous like object controlled by another revision. So this is like putting it on the deletion path and putting it, like collecting all the deactivation logic together and not including like package pulling, parsing, and all other steps. So one thing that's definitely worth mentioning, I think it's definitely like understandable, like why it's implemented in that way in the first case, etc. Is if you are going in this path, then the question is like, how do you know the content of the resource, like package, so that you can go and set controller as false. So I think the primary motivation for that is like even the package revision is inactive. Let's pull it, check its content, and then go and set controller false for all of those objects. So this is like how it was implemented in the first place. But now I believe with the references we have, we can change that implementation. And instead we can just, use those references. They are now under status, like status.object references. So there are some like concerns around keeping a state under status, especially like in the past, we had some issues with like Velero, etc. So there could be still some like tweaks or discussions around whether we should move them to spec or if it is under status. And if the status is lost, just in this case, like run through these steps, etc. So there are some other discussions to be made there. But overall, the idea is like collecting the activation logic together and then having it as an independent path of like pulling, parsing, and installing objects. So yeah, that's actually the thing that I want to get some more eyes on. So the PR is open, and feel free to like join the discussion here, contribute with your feedback, and also, are there any questions around this or comments or feedback right now?
There were some questions in the chat from Carlos.
Okay, let me check.
I was thinking maybe a dumb question, or at the top you said that the controller ref, the first one on the CRD is provider, but that is always false. Something about that always matches the package. I didn't follow that, the first one.
Yeah, that is always for the like not provider, sorry. It should be like in this context, the confusion is coming from I'm talking about package, but then I'm giving a provider as an example. But if this was a configuration package, then this would be the configuration. So, and also like in a configuration package, we don't have CRDs, rather we have XRDs or compositions.
Composition.
So this object would be either a CRD or a composition. So in this case, like the top level configuration revision will be one of the owners, and then the other owners would be just the configuration revisions. So then this would look like this, if I can change it. So both providers and configurations are packages from like Crossplane point of view, and they have a shared controller. So both configuration packages and provider packages are reconciled using either package reconciler or package revision reconciler. I don't know if this answers your question.
Yeah, partially. So the first one always going to be false?
Yes.
Controller equals false?
Yeah. For the top level package, it's always false, but it is still like an owner. So if like you just go and delete these revisions and just the top level package remains, then this CRD would still be around, not garbage collected, because it still has like one owner there.
Okay, that's the purpose. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Is any of these design docs or diagrams available somewhere?
Yeah, I think there are already like some documentation or design for packages.
Okay.
But these ones are the ones that I just prepared today.
No, they're great. I work very well with diagrams, so.
Yeah, but I got this feedback from I think Piotr as well, as we were discussing before. And if like whether it is my proposal is accepted or not, no matter how it lands, I'm planning to put these like reconcile logic somewhere available for others as well. But for now, I think I already put it here, like in the.
Yep. Great.
You can just check it from there as well.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Okay. I think we went through the agenda, and the last part is optional time for deeper technical discussions. Are there anything else that anybody wants to discuss? Okay. Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining, and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Hasan.
Bye.
Thanks.